Hello and welcome to this week's Whole Week Casa. I'm Jay here with Kev. Tonight we're doing our review of A Place in the Sun, which I think is movie 93.
Could be.
Yeah, and so on a bright note, Eagles won their first game of the year.
I was at work, but I saw a little bit of it. I saw the first quarter. That was terrible.
Oh, the first half was terrible,
Yeah.
and then like the Eagles, it's almost like the Eagles went, guys, we're gonna play really shitty the first half, then we're gonna come out and just destroy you, or the team Redskins in the second half, and everyone was like on board with it.
The thing I thought was really good is they made adjustments. You know, I mean, how often in any sport, but the Eagles in the last couple of years, the issue is like, oh, you see the obvious problem, and they're not fixing it. And here they played really soft defense, the part I saw, and then the little bit I saw later, it was, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. It's not working.
Well, today is movie number 92, which makes it the ninth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah, all right, cool.
So beer facts.
So we have this. It looks like a moonshine jug. It's called Mississippi Mud.
Mississippi Mud, famous slow brewed black and tan porter and pilsner beer. 1 quart, 946 milliliters. Dating back to the 18th
because
century.
a liter is what,
1,000.
1,000, yeah.
Dating back to 18th century England, the custom of blending pale and dark beers has kept the black and tan a favorite of experienced beer drinkers for centuries. Our famous recipe combines a robust classic porter with a fine continental pilsner, preserving the character of each while creating the classic taste of the legendary black and tan. We bring you the best of both beers as they meet in the Mississippi Mud.
Do you think they sell the porter and pilsner separately?
I hope so.
Oh, that'd be like. Well, wait, what? We can't meet that market.
I'm just picturing that it has to be an experienced beer drinker, that like someone that like has drank a lot of beers and they try to pick it up and they just fumble it everywhere. They're like, oh, I'm not experienced enough for this.
I've only had 61 beers. I'm only 22. This is crazy. And like me, like over 1,000 beers. I'm like, I got this. It feels good in my hand, or it could be like Mjolnir. Like you can't even pick it up.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I guess I'm not worthy. So anyway, tonight's movie we're going to be talking about is actually Kev liked it a lot.
This fucking movie.
I liked it a lot too.
And I don't mean it like this fucking movie, like Bringing Out Baby, like, oh, this fucking movie, like this fucking movie, like this was something.
A deep movie. It was a tense movie. Well, it
was
last hour and a half was tense. The first half an hour, you're like, oh, it's just a love story. It's not terrible. It's just a love story.
But I thought they were subverting our expectations.
So it's the movie is A Place in the Sun. It's about a poor guy who has like a chance accident with his uncle, who's like a rich industrialist, and his parents have taken, I guess, a vow of poverty and only really help the poor, and they live like in poverty. And like he's like, oh, I'll give you a job, and then. Just come to my house. So he comes to his house, and then he's like and the uncle, rich uncle, George Eastman uncle, we'll go with. He tells his son, he goes, hey, give him a job in the factory. And he's like, okay. So the cousin is a real dick, gives him like the lowest job that possibly can. And later on, the uncle's walking through the factory, and he's like, hey, I didn't tell you to give him this job, but give him like a good job.
Charles Eastman.
So the movie's about this guy, and they like explicitly say like, do not. Charles Eastman explicitly tells his cousin, George Eastman nephew, don't talk to any of the women. You're not allowed to date them. Yeah. So he falls for a girl. He basically it's on it's like on the opposite end of consensual sex. Like it's close to like non-consensual.
It's very rapey.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna let myself in and have sex with this woman. She gets pregnant, very controversially, asks a doctor without saying the word for an abortion because she's not married. She goes, George, you got to marry me. And he goes, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he is falling in love with a socialite that's way like above him, like social standing.
I'll marry you in the fall is what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's like way above him in social standing. So he's like, I got a vacation. And she's like, well, why don't we get married on your vacation? And he says, I'm going to take 2 weeks of vacation and then meet my uncle up at the lake house, which was a lie, even though the uncle was there anyway.
Yeah.
And so he's like gets pictures in the newspaper of the socialite. So the girl he got pregnant, who I felt awful for. Actually, I feel bad for both the girls. More the first girl.
But the other girl didn't really know.
Yeah,
But, like,
she
it's
didn't
like-
know.
Yeah.
I still feel bad for her. She like was lied to, but
Yeah.
so the girl he got pregnant. Her name was Al.
Angela Vickers. Oh no,
No.
the girl. I don't know. It, like
Ash-
because he started using like a nickname for
Al,
her.
yeah, Al,
And,
Allison, Alice,
Alice Tripp.
Alice, yeah, Alice Tripp. He goes, hey, there's a cab. He hears a story about how a couple has drowned,
Yeah.
and
They really foreshadowed
Yeah.
the fuck out of that.
yeah. So he
Two times actually.
Yeah, he invites her. He goes, hey, there's a cabin up there. We can stay at the cabin. We can rent a boat, go on the lake. So you're like, oh, holy shit, is this guy going to push her over the boat and drown? So, like, they're out in the boat, and she's like, I know you don't love me, but I love you. We can try to work it out. And he's like, shut up. And, like, she comes towards him, and, like, the boat flips over, and he doesn't save her, but he has a change of heart and doesn't want to kill her.
Did
like,
he?
can't do it. Yeah, I think he had a change of
I
heart.
don't know.
Well, that's what he tells us.
Yeah.
And then, like, he goes back to the lake house, or the rich people lake house, and he's like, yeah, everything's okay. And then the cops finally find him, and then they put him in the electric chair.
Yeah. But there's so many things. So even the drowning, like they foreshadow it twice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They gave us
Yeah,
so-
the first one, she's like, I can't swim.
Yeah. Oh, they foreshadowed it 3 times. So she talks about she can't swim. Then Angela Vickers talks about how how somebody drowned in the lake and how the girl was died and the guy was never found. And then they have the radio announcement, which is where it got real dark and creepy. They hit us with a triple barrel Chekhov's gun and they fired all fucking 3.
Yeah. Well, when their first, I guess, date or whatever is like a movie, and the job she does is she folds up bathing suits.
Yeah.
And puts them in boxes, and then he stacks them onto like pallets or whatever.
Hmm.
And she's like, "Well, I work 6 days a week. Like, I don't have much time to myself." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Why don't you just put on a swimsuit one day and go?" And she's like, "No."
Part of his
And-
rapiness.
Yeah, and he goes, "What? You don't look good, one of them?" She's like, "Of course I do.
Yeah.
I just never learned how to swim." And you're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then when you go to the lake house and start hearing about that, like, "Oh shit, he's
Yeah.
gonna drown her."
Yeah, man. And then, but I felt like it was a real, so it really subverted our expectations in a good way, because so this is one of those movies, and the only comparison I can think of is I can't think of what it's called. Maybe The Line or something. There was a game that came out a few years ago that was basically the first like hour of the game plays like a paint by numbers like modern military shooter, and it's just like not that good and like whatever. And then after about an hour, all this weird stuff starts happening, and the whole game is actually a total like send up of modern military shooters, and like points out like how absurd they are. But they lull you into this like, oh, okay, it's just I got to kill the guy, and then the guy is saying I got to kill that guy. And that's what this movie did. Because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, oh, it's another fucking bringing up baby. I was like, this movie is trash. Like, it's so fucking boring. Like, this guy's awkward. Like, it's just a love story. Like, I don't care. Like, okay, I get it. He's gonna fall in love with her. Then he's gonna fall in love with the other girl.
I thought they were gonna have to miss Doubtfire part of it. Like, I thought it was gonna turn to that where he's like taking off the tie and like putting grease on his face or something like that.
Yeah.
Like oh, I'm still the poor lover, and like they meet and they're like, we could just be friends, and like they become friends, and then he loses out on both of them, and then you see him like at the like he had moved up the ranks, and you see him at the end of the movie, he's just packing like boxes still, but then he smiles at another girl, and it's like boo doo doo, like one of those like cartoonish endings.
Yeah.
Nope, not at all.
No. So it's like a half hour, and I texted JD at the half hour mark. I was watching it last night, which I mean what am I my sixth day of work. I was tired as hell. I started watching it at like 9:30 at night, and
Wait, you worked Monday?
oh no, it was not
Your
my
fifth
of
day,
work. Oh,
yeah.
okay, nice, good. So
Today was your sixth
today
day.
was
Tomorrow's
sixth day,
your
yeah.
seventh.
Yeah, exactly. So I was tired. I'm like watching the movie and get halfway through. I'm like, oh my god, this movie's terrible. I'm like, you know, because I was watching on YouTube and you can change the speed. I was like, I'm about to watch it on 2 times speed just so I can get through this fucking movie.
Oh,
We
was it
talk
on
about tomorrow.
YouTube for free or?
$2.99.
Oh,
so
okay.
I watched the standard definition because
I watched
feel like,
standard definition on Amazon.
I feel like I don't need the high def of a movie that's 70 years old. But yeah, so I was like annoyed, and then Elizabeth Taylor came in, who's in Channing. As soon as she came in the movie, the whole movie turned around, and like, and
Dude, he literally stared at her.
Yeah.
And like she's like, Georgie, hey. And then he's like, what, huh, what? And
Yeah.
like you're like, oh no, oh shit, he's gonna leave her for the rich girl.
So I mean, obviously she's attractive, but I haven't seen like her in other movies where like I don't know if she always plays the type of character, but the character was awesome too. Like real like I don't know. I don't even know how to describe
here's
it.
the difference.
Character.
So it's basically the same character
Yeah.
as Bringing Up Baby. No, not Bringing Up Baby. The other one, the white girl marries the black
Oh, yeah.
girl. She's well off.
Yeah.
She's going to school. She's like 22 years old.
Look who's coming to dinner.
Yeah, look who's coming to dinner. She, you know what I mean? She's naive. She's like, oh, I love you. Like, I want to get married. I mean, these movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, like all the women are like that. So I guess it was a different, culturally, it was
Yeah.
different back then, marriage. So it's like, it's almost the same, like, stock character. And they just cranked up, like, your intelligence and realism.
Yeah.
And whereas, like, look who's coming to dinner, they took that down. They just cranked up the naivety.
She was like annoying as fuck.
Yeah, yeah. And then you get, like, something like Bringing Up Baby, where it's also the same character, rich, well-to-do, naive, where they just, like, cranked up the slapstick, like, retardedness of the character. But
Yeah, that's true.
but like this character is like more real. Like she's like, oh, I'm going to college. Like I love you. Like, and she's like, all right, so you got to go take care of your sick mom. Like, so she's like a really relatable, good character. Not to me. Like I didn't grow up like rich, but
yeah.
you know, it's like she's naive, doesn't know how like the 99% work. You know, but like she's still like a decent human being.
And she's also I think Angela Vickers too also, you know, because she drives and picks him up. Like she's a little more aggressive. So she's also like a little more independent. Like she's probably like the 1950s strong, like like as far as you get in the 1950s of like a strong independent woman is like sort of how she's presented in this movie.
Right, just like the Bringing Up Baby one. She's like very strong and independent, but she's a buffoon.
Yeah.
Whereas like she's going to be Angela Vickers is going to be running her own company one
Yeah.
day. You know, I mean, she's a model, but
Yeah.
she still goes to school. Like she's still well educated.
Yeah. So anyway, so then she came in and was like, "Oh, okay, I'm on board with this movie. This is awesome." And then about 30 minutes later, so I think at this point we've already had where they've talked about the people drowning, and then he's back at his apartment, and something comes on. I forget if it was radio or TV. I think it was something comes on the radio talking a story about how a young woman drowned, and the music. And I don't know why I saw this, and I don't remember who it was now. But when I was watching the titles in the beginning, I remember like I saw the music director's name, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious, like if he's done other movies or whatever. The music played a big part in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Because so we listened to the thing about the woman drowning, and like now you've already had it foreshadowed a couple times. And now you're thinking like, so you immediately like recognize like, oh, that's a little weird to point out again. And then the music gets real dark, and it like so it really puts it in your face like, yeah, this is bad. Like this is like he's thinking about killing her.
yeah.
But even at that point, you're like, well, this movie's in 1951. Like it's kind of a love story. He's not going to fucking kill her. Like that's crazy.
Right. When they're on the boat at the end of the movie, or
Yeah.
not like before
Yeah.
she drowns.
Yeah.
Because we, the audience, know he didn't kill her.
Yeah.
But like when they're on the boat, like when the camera faces her, it's just really like.
It gets really dark again.
No, when it faces her,
Yeah.
it's like very like that like empathetic type
Yeah.
music. And then like when it like the camera turns to him, it's the same song. Like it expands into this like dark, dreary,
Yeah.
like
Yup.
evil type of music. It's not like they switched the song; they just changed. You know the way it is, the way
Yeah.
it sounds, the tempo, and everything, and you're like, "Oh, this is like really like it's like a trip." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like a trip. You're going through these people's minds.
That and a little before that, cinematography wise, they play with light and dark a lot in this movie. And the one thing they did was when they're in the car before they're driving to the lake, they're showing the camera from his side of the car, and he's totally in darkness and shadow. You can only see her face. through the whole conversation. And there's just flashes during parts of the conversation where you can see a little bit of his face, and that's it. That was one of the cool cinematography things because it shows like the place he's in. The other really cool cinematography thing, and it was such an interesting shot. And this is again where I sort of bemoan the fact that we do not know cinematography as well as I would like to, like, because I think someone who really knows it could really like pick this scene apart and find a lot of interesting things. But where the scene where George Eastman first comes into his uncle's house, and it's such an interesting angle because all the family is sort of like in two crescents around the outside of the scene, and then George comes in through the door, and there's double arches on the door, so it's like this very like clearly pointed out entranceway, and they shoot for a really uncomfortably long time from this like top down shot from the other side of the living room where like the family's on the other side, and he's like framed between these arches in the middle. And it's like him making his entrance like into this world, but he's still like standing far away on the outside. And they hold it for like 30 seconds, like way longer than like, again, was comfortable.
Well, you see like later on in the movie, you see that they're having a party, and you see him walk up, and he's on the outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a class divide. But right before his first entrance into the house with the family, there's a very good, like, it's another cinematography thing where like he walks out, and they're like, yeah, come by my house around 7 for dinner or whatever. And he walks out, and like he's obviously poor. Like he's already explained, like they show him hitchhiking. You know, he has no money.
Yeah.
So he's looking at a suit. It says tweed, $39.99, which is like nothing to us, but like they were talking
a lot
about
of money then.
Yeah, they were talking about how a bonus of $200, $300, is a huge. Like I make $200 a day. Like so it's not that big of a deal. But so you get this tweed, and it like kind of fades out, and then you go up. Then like the camera pans off a guy in black with like the same haircut, like same body style and everything, and he turns around and you're like, oh shit, he got a really nice suit. And like, maybe something's happened, and it turns around, it's like not the same guy. You're like, holy like it was pretty cool. And then you see like the family separate, they talk about him, and then you see like the arches, and he walks in. Like it is like a pretty like, if you look at their suits, like the first suit he has on, it is like ill-fitting and like baggy and all that other stuff, and everybody else, their suits and their dresses like fit perfect.
Well, Groucho Marx said of this movie that this is the perfect American movie, and what I think he means is that it's, what George represents is blind ambition. What George represents is like manifest destiny. Like he represents the American ideal of he's comes from nothing and is going to build himself up and be important and powerful, and that's the American dream. But this movie shows the unchecked American dream, without morals or without any sort of like place for tradition. If you just have ambition, this is what happens: you murder your pregnant soon to be wife. So in a boat in a river.
Well, he said fall. Technically, fall is like the 21st. It was September. It was Labor Day, so they can't get married.
So versus, it made me think. I just watched Crazy Rich Asians the night before, and kind of similar themes in that movie. That's sort of a movie about ambition versus like family values, and like that's sort of what this movie was too. Because the right thing for him to do, especially in 1951, was to marry the girl he got pregnant. Like, I mean, that's what he should. That was like traditionally the right thing to do, And he did not only didn't do that, but like was like openly, with somebody else, and like he just, and he just used her as a stepping stone. Like he, he's a good looking guy, and he was horny, and he wanted to bang somebody, and he banged her, and like it probably gave him some confidence, and like an ego boost to then like get a little higher. And then once he was a little higher, he wanted to leave her behind,
But she was pregnant.
Yeah, but he couldn't because she was pregnant. If she, and that's really the crux of this movie, because she wasn't pregnant, he just would have easily left her behind. And I think, and this is a world in, 1951 where I mean, women don't have a lot of power. I mean, she couldn't have said anything. I mean,
Right.
if she said anything, like,
Right. Even the
nobody would
doctor's
care.
like, go back to your father. He knows what's best.
Your whole microphone just fell down. I don't think it's ever happened before.
Yeah. I think it happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine's solid over here.
Yeah.
I don't move it around like you do.
Yeah.
It gets in a spot and it stays.
Yeah. But like you should definitely never leave your pregnant wife
Yeah.
for another woman.
This movie made me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. So
So it did though, because I mean I don't know that I've ever told my whole like the story on the podcast, and I probably won't now. But I mean, obviously I was married before, and I have a kid that's about the same age as my current relationship. So you can put two and two together. But I didn't murder anybody, so
yeah, you didn't murder. I mean,
Yeah.
if you count like your car, like you
Yeah.
definitely murdered that.
Yeah.
Ran that into the ground.
All the friendships I ever had.
Yeah. Social
yeah.
suicide.
Yes. Yeah. Socially.
Yeah.
Socially, there was a lot of destruction, but
But back to the movie.
yeah. But anyway, so this movie made me very uncomfortable because I could feel, because I felt the things this guy was feeling, and it was very uncomfortable for me to watch like parts of this movie.
Yeah, but he like it's in a time where like she would be like socially outcast.
Yeah.
Like she was fine being poor. She just wanted to be happy, which
Yeah.
is like a very like I don't want to say honorable, but I guess it's like an honorable thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay being poor as long as we're together.
Mhm.
Like and we're gonna take care of this child and we're like filled with love. Like
Yeah.
that's understandable. But he's like, nah, I want to be rich. And
Yeah.
then it's like she didn't deserve any of that shit. Like it's not
Yeah.
none like I can definitively say none of this was her fault.
Yeah.
Like the first time they had sex,
Yeah.
she's like, I don't want to
He
invite
really
you in.
he pressured her. Into
Yeah,
it,
he
yeah.
definitely pressured her in.
Yeah.
You don't hear like you hear like George, and like to me it wasn't like an oh George, it was like a George, like like what are you doing, like kind of George,
Yeah. I couldn't tell. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Now my situation was different. I mean, I pursued love. I did the opposite of what you're supposed to do. I think you're supposed to get married for love the first time, then married for money the second time. I did the opposite. But or I guess I'm about to do the opposite.
Yeah.
But a lot of the scenes, like just that apartment scene, where he hears about, where he basically decides he's going to murder her, was really powerful because again, I've been there before where like you've
been towards murder, like you shouldn't admit this on the podcast.
No, but I've been in that despair and desperation where it's like, what the fuck do I do? Because I made commitments that I can't keep without being miserable.
You're going to be either miserable or you're going to hurt someone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, I made commitments that I just wish could be just taken away, like, and they can't be. And I know that there's something else that would make me very happy, and I've experienced it, which is what the situation he's in, where he's like, like those scenes with Angela are like so like they're so like, and unless you're a guy that's been through this, you might think I'm like sound like a real big asshole right now, but those scenes with Angela are like so heartbreaking because like you see like this perfect life that he wants and it's like just out of reach and it's like an illusion and he's never going to really get it and he's never going to get it. Like honestly, when she died, I was rooting for him to not get caught because I wanted him to have that perfect life.
Right. But he like his life, no matter if you look at it, no matter the way they portrayed it, no matter which way he took it, he was going to be miserable at that point. At that very point, he was going to be miserable no matter what.
Yeah.
Because either he stayed with her, and he's miserable. He kills her, and then he's stricken with grief the rest of his life, or he leaves her. She's fine. She tells everyone. He doesn't get the perfect life anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like at that point, at that very point when
It's
he up to
hopeless.
he is going to be miserable one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely hopeless. I mean, so he did something desperate, and because at least so, like my situation, I mean, it being 2014 at the time, I mean, at least the situation wasn't as dire. I mean, I just had to go through a lot of social stigma and be a social outcast and pay probably $100,000 by this point and worked 2 jobs for the last few years, but I had the option to do that. It certainly wasn't an ideal path in life, but like I can make that choice. And now I mean we get along great, and obviously I talk about the kids all the time, so so all that, so all the aftermath of everything's fine, but it was a hard thing, and for a few months, I was in the same situation as this guy where it's you just feel desperate and you just don't know what the fuck to do.
And Alice is in the worst at that time in her life. Alice is in the worst, the worst situation than him. Mm-hmm. He could be a social outcast, but he's still a man. He's still a white man in the 50s. Mm-hmm. He just moved to another town and worked his way through, and no one knows another thing. She's a single mother.
Make a little W gang sign.
Yeah, she's a single mother at 22 or 23 when she has a baby or whatever. She's a social outcast. End of story. There's no coming back from that for her, unless she finds a man that accepts that, and then he's probably not that good of a guy either.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean it. But this is what's so great about this movie. So I mean, all that stuff's really set in that time, and we understand, mentally the reality of it. Even though you don't have the feelings of probably if you were watching this movie in the 1950s, it probably hit a little more viscerally, what she was going through.
Right. See, I kind of disagree. I really feel like even today, you could step in the shoes of any of those characters 70 years later. Yeah. You understand the emotions and how they're all feeling.
That's exactly where I was going with it. Even with the culture being different now, there's still really powerful emotions in this movie. Right. This is another movie which, and again, every week I say whether I get it or don't get it, why it's on this list. And this movie I 100% get. This doesn't. I don't know that this has the level of social commentary that some of the other ones have had to this point, but it's just a powerful movie. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the movies that we watched so far are dated, and you're oh, I don't get that comedy, or I don't get this about this. Yeah. This movie is so well written, so powerful, and the characters are so well rounded. You can go, I can step into the shoes of any of those characters today, and it's not out. Up here in the Northeast,
2014.
Yeah.
That's when I stepped into the shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. In the Northeast, being a single mom isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it is. It's difficult for the mom or whatever. Yeah. But people don't look single mom and ostracize them. Yeah. But other parts of the country, people are single mom, ew, and they are ostracized still, or the person that loves another man and the parents don't like him, and they're oh, I don't know, and then he did something bad, and she's still loves him, and people go, why do you love that creep? And you can't explain it,
Yeah.
So it's a very good movie. But let me tell you, you can go after me if you want. Favorite part of the movie, him and Angela making out in the car. Cops stop him. Yeah. And it's what are you guys doing?
Talking.
Yeah, talking. And the cop goes, houses are vetted. They're a pretty good place to go talk. and he's get out of here. And they're oh, okay. And I'm that's the best part of the movie. Yeah. It's this scene.
Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a comedy relief scene. Yeah. But it's not comedy relief. It's part of life. Everything in this movie, could happen to someone. Yeah. And that's happened to me.
It happened to me once in high school. I don't know. As I guess cops have to ask you all these creepy questions now.
Yeah.
Like they basically assume you're a rapist until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just remember there was like I just remember they asked a lot of weird questions before they let us drive away. But
Yeah, my cop told me it was in Collingswood, and the cop told me, I don't care as long as you're in a house. You get under a bed in a closet, just get off the street.
Yeah.
We were like, what?
basically everything this cop said.
Yeah. He's like, I don't care where you go, a hotel room, closet, under a bed, just get off the street. It is a family town. Like he was like, get. You know, and we were like, all right, sir. You know, like scary. You know, like 20 years old. You know,
Yeah.
you're scared.
So basically that was the part of the movie you most related to.
Nah, not really. It is the pregnancy part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pregnant twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Tough. but yeah, the other,
But I've definitely been torn between like two women before.
Yeah.
You know, like someone that you don't like several times, you know.
yeah, I don't know. It was pretty. And again, this is just colored by my personal experience, but I thought the scenes that hit me the most emotionally were the scenes with Angela where he's happy, but it can never be. But probably the scenes more people thought were more emotional were the scenes where with Alice where he says about going out to the lake and stuff, and she's like looks happy and relieved that he's going to try to be nice and try to be what he was, and you can see the the happiness on her face, and as an audience member, she's going there to die.
Right. And you could tell the part where you're like he's like kind of curling away. He's like, you're like, oh, he's not going to do it. But you're like, well, part of you goes, something bad's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to do it. Like he's getting away. And it's the part when he doesn't care about her, when he goes, when he says, I didn't mean it. Yeah. Instead of like, you don't deserve this. Yeah. What he should have said, like if you meant it, was you don't deserve any of this. And he's like, I don't mean it. And like the mean it, like I didn't mean it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like when you apologize or you say I'm sorry or I didn't mean it.
If you were offended by anything.
Yeah. that you put no thought into your apology. Okay? That's what you're saying. What you need to say is you have to step in their shoes. You have to understand why they're upset, why they're sad. It's like you don't deserve any of this. Like I shouldn't have been so driven. Like explain to her, like, here's what's going on. Like it'll hurt, but like just be honest. You know what I mean? Like there's a good chance if she goes and tells on him, she's out of a job too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's really no winning for her. I mean, unless she convinces him to marry her. And even then she's in like a miserable life.
Right. Also, another thing, not misogynist or anything, just part of like 1950s culture. She's an unskilled young female.
Yeah.
What other job is she gonna get? A fucking bellhop?
Yeah. I mean, she could do the same type of job somewhere else, I guess. But it seemed like the Eastman Company was like the biggest, company in that town.
Yeah, the biggest. Yeah. Like even George Eastman, uncle, is like, I was out in Kansas City. Now this is an unnamed town, so I don't know where it is. Even George Eastman, uncle, he goes, he was working as a bellhop at one of my hotels. Like this man's an industrialist. Like he's rich. Like he has a swimsuit clothing business, and he has hotels. Like he could own every. Every in the business in the next 100 miles, like she could be blacklisted.
Yeah,
which is terrible.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, I mean, I don't know how it would work at that time period to take care of a baby and have to work. Like I don't know how. I mean, if she didn't have a family to take care of the baby.
Oh, she'd probably have to give it up to the church.
I mean, there's resources nowadays. I mean, it's still very difficult, but.
They had like Social Security to help you and welfare and everything, but not like that. Like you see herself, she works 6 days a week and she lived in a room.
Yeah.
With a bed.
Yeah. So some of the other sound stuff that I really liked was there's the scene and because this was like real straight horror, like psychological horror stuff, which was like really interesting to see in a movie that, so on YouTube it's under the categories of romance/drama, which I'm the only commenter on this video on YouTube. I left a comment when I realized there were none.
So that the production company and actors see all your comments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's some straight psychological horror stuff. Like, so when he's running from the boat scene, which, like, come on, dude, you're running from the boat scene and you don't see like a whole group of like fucking Boy Scouts like camping out. I mean, I guess it was dark, but like, you don't have like heightened senses where you're being careful that you're not being spotted.
Right.
So he stumbles on a whole bunch of Boy Scouts after he's killed Alice. After Alice has died in a lake, I guess. By unforeseen circumstances, and one of the things is their dog's barking, and then he keeps going, and he's like kind of a long distance away, and the dog's still clearly barking,
at least a quarter mile away,
and then he's back in a room, and you still hear the dog barking, so it's like this really off-putting, like, is he just going crazy? Like, it's like this really off-putting thing. And they do it with the police sirens later. Like,
oh, the police sirens were constant.
Police sirens were constant. And there were scenes where there were no police around and the sirens were still playing from the previous scene.
Yeah. Like, like they're on his tail.
Yeah.
Like the police are on the tail because you're watching it. And then you see this, and like it's like the director is like, we want you guys to remember the police are on his tail.
Yeah.
It's like he's just really like punching that home. Like he's a bad fucking guy.
Yeah.
The police are on his tail. Like the dog barking, like really just barking, and he goes to his room and he's barking. You're like, holy shit! Like this is like, it's for that psychological point, or he's like really thinking about everything for a long time. Like his life was ruined at that point.
Basically, so the message of this movie is the opposite. So this is the exact other end of the spectrum of, was it Unforgiven that I thought was like pro-America, even though it didn't seem like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it was Unforgiven.
Unforgiven's like, we're America, so we'll just get it done.
Exactly. That's where he goes and kills everybody at the bar at the end. That was Unforgiven.
Right.
Yeah. So I watched the movie Unforgiven a few weeks ago, and if you guys didn't hear that, I kind of felt like that movie was, essentially was supposed to be like a send-up of Westerns for a lot of the movie, where it looks like, the whole Western, movie culture was kind of negative because it's like, there's all this murder, and murder's not really that great of a thing, and like, there's these outlaws and all, it's all bad. And then in the end, Clint Eastwood goes and just murders a whole fucking bar. But it's presented, I think, kind of heroically. And I kind of thought the message of that movie was like, it was around 1990 when like America had lost some of its luster. And I kind of felt like the point of that movie was like, oh, this is America, America, it's a nation where, hard men make hard choices, and like, maybe we're not the best, maybe we're not the most moral, but like when shit goes down, like you got to do what you got to do. And like, I thought that was the message. So so even though the movie's sort of described as like, sort of anti-West, Western and stuff like that, like I think it was actually a pro-American movie. I thought this movie was the exact opposite, where, this movie is basically saying the opposite. Like, that mindset of like, doing what needs to be done, in the service of blind ambition is evil, is essentially what this movie's saying. It's saying the exact opposite. But I don't know.
Well, it started off like pretty good because George is trying to like come up with ways like how to improve production. Like he's like taking this girl like who's also poor, like they're in the same social class, like out, and he starts as a good guy, and then Angela comes in, like you're like, life's done. Yeah, he's done.
But he's not really a good guy even when he's talking to her, because the first scene they meet in the movies, right? And he's sitting a couple seats away. Then he sees her and he sits over next to her and like, that's cool, that's fine, and he asks like, oh, are you with that guy? And she's like, no. And then he's like, okay, well that's cool. Well, like it's a girl from work, even though I'm not supposed to, I'm gonna talk to her. Yeah. Like that's all fine. But then the first signs of weirdness are, they stay to the very, very end of the movie when like most other people have gone, and everybody else is making out, and
It was a Marvel movie,
yeah,
so they had to stay
Yeah, for the
after
after
the credits.
credits.
Yeah,
and there's this like uncomfortable like tension between them where it's like obviously he just wants to fuck her. Like the only reason you would stay there, like if you were just being friendly, you're just being flirty, you'd still be next to her, you'd be joking around still at that point, you'd be like making fun of the people in front of
yeah.
you making
He's
out.
he's that like frustrated sex thing where
That's what it was.
where his back is arched back, his hands
Yeah.
are on his legs, like I just want to take my dick out. Like
Exactly.
like, it was very
So
like
it was
that.
like very predatory. And I mean, obviously she, you know, didn't hate it. I mean, she stayed there, but I mean, it was very, yeah. I mean, it was very obviously a sexual thing. You know,
Right.
it wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't whatever else. You know, and maybe she just felt awkward to leave. Maybe she, I don't know. Like I guess I don't know why she stayed, but I mean, I feel like, you know, she eventually probably wanted something to happen too.
Right.
And then walking back, I mean, he's like all over. He has his arm around her. I mean, they're not really supposed to be together, so in public that's kind of weird. He's like, you know, and again, this is 1950s, so I doubt that's like normal behavior. That he's just all over her walking back, and he's just staring at her, and it's like, it's so uncomfortably predatory.
Oh, it was very uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, it was not this night, but was it the same night where they had sex?
No, that was
no,
different
it was a
night.
different one. Yeah,
But
Where
he
she's
tried
like-
to that night.
Yeah,
I think
where
he
he's
tried
like-
to go in.
He's like, I'd invite you in, but like I can't. I'm not allowed to. And then like the second night, like he like invites himself in
Yeah.
and like pushes her on the bed. You know, it was he's like,
Like that was like that whole scene was like a hashtag like even me as a white guy too. Like
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean it was so I mean he's just so aggressive because that's what he wants at that moment. He wants to have sex with Alice. So he's very aggressive with that, and then once he's done that and he doesn't need it anymore, and then he has something better, then he moves on to the next thing that he wants. And who knows? I mean, maybe he gets together with Angela and meets someone richer or like better looking.
yeah. Wow, yeah, that'd be tough.
I guess.
That'd be real. Like it'd be tough to watch. Like he's just probably like a piece of shit altogether. Like when he was a bellhop or whatever, he probably tried to sleep with women there.
Probably.
Yeah, like you want me to come up to your room later? Like,
Yeah. It's a real. Have you been following the? I mean, that was really off topic, but I mean, it's just I've been following the story, the Vic Mignogna story.
no, what's that?
So it's voice actor Broly, and some other anime things. Vic Mignogna. Mignogna, not manana like the Spanish word.
All right.
Vic Mignogna. So he apparently has always been like a little forward and touchy feely with fans and stuff like that. And like, I mean, who knows, you know, in his head, like if he thinks it's inappropriate or not, whatever. But after the Broly movie came out in February, people started coming out. The story came out and all the stuff came out about him being like inappropriate. And he ended up losing his job and basically has gotten blacklisted from the anime.
What's Broly?
Dragon Ball Z, like the
Oh,
kind of
okay.
Broly, yeah.
Right.
So, which, you know, I mean, this stuff happens, whatever. But, although my opinion on it, is I think he just got older and it's creepy now that he's older because he's like a good looking guy. I don't know. Probably people minded it less when he was younger and like, I don't know. But yeah, so I think that would have been one thing, you know, and again, this stuff happens, you know, you have to be careful how you behave, like whatever. But then it's come out since then that, so he worked for Funimation as like one of the main, like English dub studios, you know, for Japanese anime. And apparently like, this is just the culture at Funimation. Like it's just, everyone's like this there. Supposedly one of the managers like has replaced voice actresses that wouldn't sleep with them. Like, and like he was one of the guys that went after Vic Mignogna, and like he's probably a worse guy than him. And then these tapes came out recently of some of the other voice actors that had spoken out against Vic Mignogna, where they're like, saying all this super racist stuff like in their character voices.
Oh,
So
really?
so it just seems like they're all bad people. So, but what's happening now is Vic is suing all these people that came out against him for defamation and like using as evidence essentially like all the bad shit they've done. So he's essentially trying to fight back like, okay, like, and he's like apologized and he said like he probably did stuff that was wrong. Like he's admitted to some stuff, you know, and but he's basically saying like, this is bullshit. Like I'm blacklisted and don't have a job and all you fucking assholes that are worse than me, like are still in the industry. Like this is bullshit. And he's like suing them all for defamation. So it's like this big, like, and I don't really know. I mean, the people are calling it like this big Me Too movement thing, like whether it's like against that or not. I don't know if it really is. I think it's more against like the cancellation culture of like, you know, if someone says or does a bad thing that you can ruin their entire life and deperson them forever, which is like what happens with social media nowadays.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of a fight against that stuff. They just in the last week, Funimation filed like an anti-slap lawsuit. So essentially saying that like it's like this law that that's there to prevent people from trying to use lawsuits to keep people from using free speech. So like, so essentially saying like he's suing them because they said bad stuff about him that was true and they're allowed to do that. So it's a lawsuit to try to just cancel his lawsuit. And apparently, and his lawyer like misfiled all this stuff and like filed stuff late. And like, so some of the stuff's already been thrown out, which is unfortunate because I kind of want to see what happened. I want this lawsuit to go through just to see what happens.
So they just got better lawyers.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, his lawyer made like a whole bunch of mistakes. It sounds like. I mean,
That's kind of funny.
yeah. So I mean, again, it's a shame because I honestly don't really know which side I'm on. I mean, I think I'm kind of on Vic's side, and there's this like stick stick with Vic hashtag and the like kick Vic hashtag.
What's his name?
Vic Mignogna. I think it's Mignogna.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I think I'm kind of on his side because I mean, you know, I'm not for all the stuff he did, you know, and he's apologized for some of it and, you know, maybe he should have lost his job, but I do think it's bullshit. This culture of like just being able to destroy people's lives without evidence. Like
yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Like he's never been he's never been charged with a crime. Like there's no official anything. Like he should have. Like that's fine if Funimation wants to fire him, but you can't just drag people's name through the mud.
Right.
Like
that's terrible.
Like this is an internal thing. He should have been fired. Should have been like, oh, Vic Mignogna doesn't work here anymore, and that should have been it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. But a couple of YouTube channels I follow have been like following it like really closely and like. You know, and the other really sick part of the story though is like, so one of the channels that I started listening to just because they posted a bunch of videos about this story. I mean, essentially what they've sort of resorted to is just attacking the people that attacked Vic. So like, but like, that's sort of how like it works with social media. Like you can't defend yourself. Like once someone says something about you, it doesn't matter what you say about yourself. The only defense is to make them sound worse. And that's terrible. Like, I don't know. Like it's really like social media's really turned people into children. Like it's really like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like children. Like, oh,
it's
he was in late. Well, he poops his pants. You're like, what?
But like that's what you have to do because if you apologize or if you like try to defend yourself, no one cares. Like as soon as people hear the accusation, they made up your mind. So all you can do is make wilder accusations back. It's like a real, like, I don't know how it's going to get fixed, but it's like a real problem. Like, I guess maybe once everyone's fired, like once just there's 100% unemployment rate because no one can ever work again because everyone said one bad thing to somebody. And I'm not saying Vic just said just one bad thing. It sounds like he did some stuff.
What I think Trump should do after a presidency is teach people how to like dust shit off.
I know, right?
Yeah, like.
That is the one good thing he's good at.
Yeah, like not good for us. Like they were talking about how he said like there's video of him saying like we should just nuke the things, and like he's like I didn't say that, fake news, fake news, and you're like,
I mean now we don't support Trump. Just when things are objectively funny, they're objectively funny. I know some people think that no, nothing he says is funny. It would be so fucking serious all the time. But like some of the stuff he says is really like parody levels of like.
Have you seen the thing where he like used a Sharpie to draw like the hurricane's path to like go over Alabama? And dude, they have like this thing that goes up Florida, and he just used a Sharpie that like moved it over Alabama, and he like doubled down on it. He's like sent out tweets that are like they said an earlier forecast said 99% over Alabama, and like news people were like, it's never going to Alabama. He's like, but it changed. That's what hurricanes do. They change all the time. And you're like, well, that's also a fact. He's like, we had thousands of models. You know, like we had thousands of models. They all said different things, and I just happened to pick the one that was wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but you drew that model. Like you just extended it with a Sharpie. You didn't even try to blend it in. Then he's like, I picked a model. It was wrong. Enough said. And you're like, wow, he is really good at that. Like he did it. He fucked up, and he goes, well, we had thousands of models, and I picked the wrong one. So what? And you're like, that's not what happened at all. But okay, yeah, like
he's really from the Simpsons movie. Like I was chosen to lead, not to read.
Yeah.
Simpsons movie made me think of probably one last thing before we talk about the next movie preview. But did you see the story too? Arnold Schwarzenegger's like best friend died recently.
Oh yeah, Franco Columbo.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. His post is like so fucking sad. Like, well, first off, and I think it's awesome how revered Arnold Schwarzenegger still is, like in the bodybuilding community. Like if you go on any bodybuilding forum website, he's literally God. Like,
yeah, I loved Franco Columbo too.
Yeah.
He was like 5'5" version. He had a better Schwarzenegger's like Columbo had a better body than me.
Yeah. He's like 5'5" and like lift up cars. But the pictures that find out like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Facebook or just I'm sure if you look up the story,
I follow him on Instagram. It's great.
Okay. But he posted this, post about it, and it's these pictures of them when they're younger, and they're like just fucking like, what is it like that? Like from like the canon of Polycletus, like they're like carved out of like stone, and oh sorry.
There's the
Yep, that's just drawn on there. But yes, I mean they're just carved out of they're just like Greek gods. And it's them messing around when they're younger and they're so big and powerful. And then, it's them when they're a little older, and there's like a picture that sort of mirrors them when they're younger. And then the last picture in the roll is Franco Columbo, and I guess maybe that he was like sick by this point,
right.
And it's him resting his resting his head on Arnold's shoulder, and they're like watching something on like a tablet or something.
Right, yeah. It's 54 years they were together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
awesome.
Franco Columbo is like a modern like he is an Italian like god.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He was like an amateur or pro boxer. He was like a power lifter. He won like all these Olympic awards. He won like he won like awards for bodybuilding in Germany. He competed in the world's like first world's strongest man, and like he only went out because like he hurt himself like carrying a refrigerator like on a steel thing. But he was like 5'5", and he won mad titles.
This is at a time too, or maybe it's just him, where like bodybuilding and strength were like together. Like I mean, like nowadays there's like bodybuilders aren't that strong.
Oh yeah, they're not at all. The last big one, I can't think of his name now, but it was a black guy who like won it like 8 times, and like Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah,
like he strong, but like his body's destroyed.
Yeah, but guys aren't built. I don't know like what the difference is. Guys aren't built like that anymore. Like there's these bodybuilders that are just super hypertrophy that are like, I mean, they're stronger than your average guy on the street, but like they're not anywhere near as strong as they look. And then you got the Thor Bjornsons who like can lift up a house, but like I mean he's like a little bit of a fat guy. Like
right.
Guys so specifying what they train for nowadays. I don't know. It's just a whole different world than like when like Arnold and like him were doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, these guys were deadlifting 800 pounds when like deadlifting 800 pounds was like unheard of.
Yeah. I don't know. So what's the next movie?
All right. The next movie, I think it's our first movie with Audrey Hepburn.
Okay.
It's our first Audrey Hepburn.
Was she older in another movie? Was she a little bit older in another movie?
No. That's Katharine Hepburn.
Katharine
We watched
Hepburn.
2 Katharine Hepburn movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I gotta fix.
Oh no. I know.
I gotta fix my mic.
Oh, we're just freehanding.
Yeah,
We've
we're
never done this on the
freehand,
podcast. There's no pop filter. You're gonna hear all the P's and shit now.
Yeah. So the next one is the 1964 comedy music drama. Get this. You better carve out some time. It's 2 hours
They're all 2 hours.
and 52 minutes.
Oh my god, that's the longest movie I've ever watched. I gotta start like now. Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah. So it's
I do want to see this movie because I've heard the name. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's an important movie.
Yeah.
This movie.
So it stars Rex Harrison, Audrey Hepburn, and Jeremy Brett.
1 hour each.
December 25th, 1964. In this beloved musical, pompous phonetics professor Henry Higgins. We should actually get a phonetics guy on here so I can speak correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pompous phonetics professor Henry Higgins is so sure of his abilities that he takes it upon himself to transform a Cockney working class girl into someone who can pass for a cultured member of high society. His subject turns out to be the lovely Eliza Doolittle, who agrees to speech lessons to improve her job prospects. Higgins and Eliza clash, then form an unlikely bond, one that is threatened by an aristocratic suitor.
Oh no.
Oh no! So 2 hours and 52 minutes, which means you got to start Tuesday.
Oh my god. I watch like an hour a day, I guess.
Yeah. So that's My Fair Lady. Anything else about Place in the Sun?
No, it was a great movie. Go watch it. Watch Franco Columbo lift shit.
Oh,
Watch
he's
this.
great. He's one of my heroes.
Yeah. I mean, he should be I'm closer to his height than you.
Yeah. But for Kev, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to this week's Whole Week Costa. There's a lot of bonus minutes.
Oh no. Oh, we're not even on the screen at all.
Yeah.
This might have been the best podcast.